Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to another episode of Good Morning Soul. And today, I'm going to be talking about something that I used to be really into. This is like one of my life's biggest passions, and that was collecting. This is going to be like a 4-part series. I'm going to be talking about certain step-by-steps. But for this first video, I think I just want to talk about how I got into collecting and the early days of what I was collecting, etc. I'm gonna take a drink here, hold on. And back then, what I remember, I don't know if you guys have seen the video yet, but I was talking about my early YouTube watching days and how I was watching a lot of video game collectors just show off their collections. And after I got into movies, I had a decent movie collection, and that was just basically the internet wasn't around back then, and I wanted to watch a bunch of movies, so I just bought a bunch of movies whenever I had the opportunity. If I was at thrift stores, if I was at pawn shops and there was movies there and I had the opportunity to buy them, I would buy them. Our local video store also sold a good amount of movies, and I remember buying a bunch there. And I wasn't even collecting yet, but I just had a massive amount of movies. Not as massive as it would eventually become, but I had a good amount of VHS and DVD. And my sister, she had her own pretty decent sized collection, so I don't know if she would consider herself a collector, but that was kind of what I always wanted. I wanted to have her set amount of DVDs and VHS. So basically after I got the idea from watching those YouTube videos, I was yeah, I'm gonna be a collector. I'm gonna collect movies, and I'm gonna collect video games, because obviously I was very passionate about video games. And I was you know what? I have a bunch of books. I have all these Harry Potter books and Percy Jackson books. I love reading, and I love having these books. I'll collect those too. And I was what else do I like? Eventually, I was gonna collect CDs and stuff like that. I was gonna collect TV shows, and I remember with video games, there's video game manuals and strategy guides and boxes and collectible whatever the hells, and there's a million things that come with each of these. And so I told myself, yeah, I'm gonna get really into all of that. And originally I was crazy. I told myself I was gonna collect a million other things. My dad got me really into coin collecting when I was really young. We would even go to coin shows and stuff like that, and that was also kind of his way of giving me a passion that would also make money. And that never really stuck with me, only because that was boring. But with this, the idea that I thought was cool about collecting coins, oh, this is something that isn't just gonna sit on a shelf and you just look at it. This is something I can play and talk about and analyze and talk about with other people. And this is something I remember organizing shelves, these are the games I've beaten, these are the games I haven't beaten, and stuff like that. So originally, it was just the movies. I had a bunch of VHS and a bunch of DVDs, and I was organizing them at the time. These are the movies I've watched, and I would try to watch a movie a day. And the projects I do today are still familiar to what I did back then. And just the idea of pulling something off of a shelf, watching it, and then putting it in a collection of things that are already done and completed, that was orgasmic, right? And back then I didn't have a lot of space for all these things. I was the youngest child in a family that was moving a lot, so sometimes I had to share a room with my brother, and I'd have all these stupid ass DVDs that he probably hated. But he wasn't that mean about or anything, but I'm sure he probably just hated that. But a lot of time, I'd have the smallest room, and I would just be packing it with all these things, right? And originally, like, I had a lot of VHS. When I moved across country, I couldn't bring a lot of them with me. I remember a lot of my, like, childhood VHS tapes, like, that I was really, like, fond of. Like, I was like, I still wish I had. I still have a couple for, like, some sentimental value, like, stuff from, like, my grandmother. That was, like, those are, like, the last things I have to remember her. I remember I have a couple other things, like the Dragon Ball and Pokemon movies, that I, like, won't get rid of for whatever reason, just because there's so much, like, sentimental value there. And right now they're just sitting in a closet. Like, back then, if my games or movies, like, weren't on a shelf being displayed for me to look at, like, it would, like, literally, like, agitate me. It would literally depress me, knowing that my collection wasn't being, like, utilized. And I remember just watching, like, so many video game YouTube videos back then, like, collection videos, that, like, I always wanted to, like, play all the video games and watch all the movies. That's still, like, a weird obsession that I'm always going to have, like, to experience all the art out there. And, you know, it couldn't just be simple. I couldn't just watch movies. I couldn't just play all the video games. I have to experience all of it, right? Like, this impossible task that is never going to happen. And then I'm going to achieve immortality just for the sake of being able to complete all the movies and all these things. All these, and, you know, nowadays, this is eventually, at the end of the 4-part series, going to lead up to, like, do I still collect? Like, what is the result of collecting all these things? But this is basically the start. I had a bunch of movies and I had a couple of video games, but I wanted to expand on that. I remember, like, I bought old video game systems. I remember my mom bought me, like, a PS2 for my birthday, and I remember I had, like, $30 and I bought a GameCube. I remember my brother was pissed at me because, like, a lot of my money back then was just going towards him. Like, he'd find ways to get my money. And, like, he was so pissed that I spent $30 on a video game console that's been dead. Like, he was so pissed that I spent $30 and, like, a couple dollars extra to play Super Smash Brothers. I really wanted to play Super Smash Bros. Melee and add that to collection. I remember... and when I bought my PS2, like, rebought it, I should say, because I think my brother sold all these old systems, and I really wanted to play all these games again. Like, I remember Kingdom Hearts. I desperately wanted to play Kingdom Hearts again. I really want to play Jak and Dexter. I really want to play Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper. I really want to play Pokemon Colosseum and Sonic again. And so I did that, and that was basically the fire that started this terrible and beautiful passion I had. And I still am a guy with, like, when people come over to my house, I still, like, well, I'm gonna save that. For now, this is the start. This is the fire. The collection started, and I think, how old was I around this time? I want to say, like, it started, like, from, like, 7th grade. Like, around that time period is when I just was getting all of these things, right? And, yeah, if you are interested in hearing if you're interested in hearing the struggles that I went through because of this collection and how much money I spent and all of this, then, click on, the videos to come. I don't know if these are going to be released back to back daily. So this, over the next week, maybe, I'm sure you'll hear about this, unless I just do them differently. I don't know how I'm gonna upload most of these videos, but I'll get to that when I come to that. But for now, thank you for watching. As always, this has been another episode of Good Morning Soul. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and with that, I leave you.